So tonight's class was about, bringing Shabbos into our home. And we'll discuss, but it's actually, so a few people asked me, they said, oh, can I join even if I don't have children? And 1,000%, and I'll explain why. So first, I do want to start off with an anecdote a little bit about a child. So my friend was saying that, she was davening, she was praying every morning, she was really proud of herself, and it was very cute. Her 2-year-old daughter started to also pray next to her, imitate her. And just like her mother was using a siddur to daven, was using a prayer book, she too took a prayer book and wanted to pray just like her mother. And at first her mother was, really getting a kick out of it. And then she looked down at her daughter and she saw, what did she look like when she was praying and imitating her mother? So she looked like this, checking her phone. And basically the girl looked exactly like what the mother was doing. And the mother realized, oh, I must really not be praying with that much concentration, because she was imitating me, looking at my watch, looking at my phone, spacing out. That's what it looked like to her. So what's the point of the story? That what we do really gets absorbed by our children, and they really pick up so much from us. And it's hard to have it's hard to have a home where people are excited about Shabbos if we ourselves are not excited about Shabbos. So really the best way to infuse your home with Shabbat is to yourself be able to learn about Shabbat and learn some of the deeper meanings and the deeper reasons that we have for why we do what we do on Shabbat, all the different rituals. So that is really what we're going to look into today, because I cannot inspire anybody else to be excited about a mitzvah unless I myself am inspired by it. So with that, we're going to speak a little bit about the deeper meanings of Shabbat. So it's a really special thing that we have. It's a major part of our week in Jewish calendar. And the question is why? Like, what is it all about? Why are we so Shabbos focused? So the Gemara says that all week long we're running and we lose 1/500th of our eyesight. And on Friday night, our eyesight is restored. So what exactly does that mean? What does that mean that let's peel back this Gemara a little bit to try to understand what that means. So basically all week long, we're running, and we really lose sight of what's important. We lose sight of our values. We lose sight of even the fact that we're not in control. We're running to the bank and then the teller is taking so much time before us, and then the person in back of us just cut us, and we're so frustrated, and we forget that we're not the ones in control. We really feel like we're in control of our week. And then Shabbos comes, and Shabbos is the one day that we are supposed to just sit back and not create and realize that we're not the ones in control. All week long, I'm running, and on Shabbat, I stop running and I just sit back and I just realize that there is a creator to this whole world, and that creator is not me, and I'm not the one that's in control of my entire week and my life, and I'm not in control of the show. We finally stop on Shabbos and we're able to just regain focus. So any good relationship takes effort. You have to make time for it. You have to do things to make that relationship special. And it's no different with God. And Shabbos, we're having like our date night kind of with God. And we're refocusing ourselves on what our purpose in life is, on what our goals in life are. And we're just reconnecting with our family and the people around us after such a busy week. So now okay, so basically, what exactly can't we do on Shabbos? So I'm sorry, some people are just texting me about the link. Let me just tell them that they have to get it, that they have to get on. They have to get on from email. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to put that away now. I just wanted to help some people. Okay, so what is it that we can't do on Shabbos? We're told we can't work on Shabbos, but let's say going to the synagogue makes me really tired. And for me, that's a lot of work. So what exactly is it that we can't do on Shabbos? Like, let's say for me, driving in my car and driving to the beach is very relaxing for me. So what does that mean that you can't work on Shabbos? There needs to be, what is work? What defines work? So basically on Shabbos, we cannot do anything that was done in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, in the times that the Jewish people were inside the deserts. So what did they do? They were 40 years wandering. What did they do all those years? Basically, all week long, they were building the Mishkan. They were building the tabernacle, which then eventually became the Beis HaMikdash later on when they came to Israel, and they were building it. And on Shabbos, they would stop and they would rest. And why is it what would happen in the Mishkan, what we can't do on Shabbos? And it's because the Mishkan was like a microcosm of the world. Everything that would happen in the Mishkan was supposed to be symbolic of like this overall microcosm of the world. And when it came on Shabbos, they would stop creating. All week long, they were creating and making things and building this tabernacle because they were moving a lot in the desert. And on Shabbos, they would stop and let go of all creation and just recognize who the ultimate creator was. Again, this idea to refocus them, to repurpose that, make you repurpose and realize I am not in control. So anything that we can't do on Shabbos has to do with creation. You cannot be creative on Shabbos. You cannot create things, something from nothing, because we are no longer the creators on Shabbos. We are just sitting back and relaxing. So there was always a story that struck me. There was a big earthquake in San Francisco. I forgot if it was in the 70s. I forgot which year it was, but there was a big real estate man and he was looking to buy a building, and he had a very important meeting on a Friday afternoon. And he said to them in advance, I want to buy the building. I'm happy to sign it off and shake hands, but I have to be done by a certain time. I am a Shabbat observant Jew. And they came to this meeting, and the meeting's going on, and it's getting closer to Shabbos, and it's getting closer and closer to Shabbos. And he says, I really have to go. And they said, if we don't finish this deal today, we're not having any deal. And he was really stressed out because this was a really lucrative opportunity for him. They were going to give him a better deal on the building than he would have had. And he said, I can't. It's literally, I'm going to get home within the 18 minutes of Shabbat. I've never violated Shabbat, and I really don't want to. So they said, it's your choice. You know, if you're going to leave now and we're in the middle of negotiations, this is not happening. So he had no choice and he had to leave. And what happened that Saturday, there was a major earthquake in California, and the building that he was going to buy completely crumbled. He would have been in so much debt. He would have lost so much money. But it's a beautiful story, and it is a very, good for him that he got protected and saved from it. But what was probably his mindset going into Shabbat? Like, I cannot believe this. It's so annoying. Why can't I just start Shabbat an hour later? This is so difficult. And these are the feelings we sometimes have during the week. We feel so in control. But he had to be forced to put it all down and say, it's not my world. I am not the one that runs this world. As much as I believe that, on Shabbat, I have to stop creating, not making business deals. I'm just sitting back and I have to let go. And he did. In his case, it worked out. But that is the whole idea of Shabbos, to refocus us and realize that there is a purpose in this world. And as much as we run during the week, we are not the creators. Ultimately, we are not the ones creating and deciding things in our lives. So we're told in many sources that Shabbos will be a source of bracha, that keeping Shabbos will bring a lot of blessings into your life. The Chafetz Chaim was a really huge rabbi in the early 1900s, and when people would come to him for a blessing, they need a blessing for children, for money, parnasa, to find marriage partner, he used to say to them, don't ask me for a bracha, ask Shabbos for a bracha. Now, what does that mean, ask Shabbos for a bracha? He meant that on that, it's such a special day, talk to God on that day. There's so many potential opportunities on Shabbos, which we're going to get into, to really connect. Go and realize the blessings that the Torah tells us that we will get from keeping Shabbos. So just an example of this, it was very common when people came to America before there was the, 2-day weekend. It used to be everybody worked on Saturday. Everybody worked on Saturday and Sunday was the day off. Now, when Jews came to America, either before the war or after the war, it was a real struggle because if you didn't come in Saturday, you were told, don't come back Monday. So there was a girl that was sent to America from Europe. Her parents saw that the writing on the wall and they got her out of Europe before the Holocaust, before the war. And she lived with family, and part of living with, people didn't have a lot of money in those days, the early 1900s, the early 1900s of America. It was like the real working world. And the cousins that she stayed with, they were not Shabbat observant, but she had to contribute to her stay. So she worked in a factory, and a big portion of her paycheck, which wasn't very much, went towards the family, which made sense because they were, providing her with shelter and food, and this is how families did it. So when she realized that she was going to have to work on Shabbos, she was very religious before she came to America, and she said, I'm really not comfortable, to her family members. And they said, if you don't work on Shabbos, you can't stay in our house. We cannot afford to have you being fired. We can't afford to keep you here if you don't give your contribution to the family. So she didn't know what to do. She was a very religious girl. And what she would do is on Shabbos, she decided that she was going to spend the entire Shabbos on a park bench because she couldn't be at the family. They would see that she wasn't going to work. She didn't want to go to work because she just couldn't bring herself to not keep Shabbos. And she waited and she sat on a park bench the entire Saturday. And she waited until sundown. Finally, she saw that the sun was down and she walked back home to her cousin's house. Her family's where she was staying. And when they saw her approaching the house, they came running out. They said, how are you alive? What on earth are you doing here? And she was so confused. She said, what do you mean? He said, the factory where you work burnt down today. Every single worker inside was killed. And we were mourning you. We were crying. We didn't know how we were going to tell your family in Europe. We were devastated, but now we see you walking here. And she said, well, to be honest, I didn't go to work today. I sat on a park bench for about 15 hours because I couldn't bring myself to break Shabbos. So it's like what the Chavetz Chaim said. Shabbos is the makor habracha. It's the source of bracha. We say it every Friday night in the Kabbalat Shabbos prayer service. And this concept that Shabbos is really meant to be a source of blessing. And there is so much bracha and blessing you can have when you tap into it. Now, the Torah very much realizes the reality that we live in a physical world. And as much as we would love everything to be spiritual and to connect, we're commanded to keep Shabbos, but we're commanded to keep it through certain physical things. And this is where the whole family comes into play. So we're going to look at the different things that we're asked to do on Shabbos and how each person really adds and contributes to this amazing opportunity for everyone to really tap into the day. So first of all, we have to realize that our environment really affects us. If you're in a house or you're around people that are very high strung, and I'm sure many people have experienced this, even if you're in a work environment or anything where everybody's very high strung, afterwards you're like buzzing for a little while. It takes time, to come down from that energy of just, high strung energy. So our environment makes a big impact on us psychologically and emotionally. And so the Torah realizes this, And that's why we go through great lengths on Shabbos to create a very special environment. Because when you can create in your home the environment of Shabbos, that affects everybody in the home. That's going to make everybody, I always felt like there's like a peacefulness when you go to sleep Friday night. I don't know, all the technology's off and, the house gets quiet and our environment really impacts us. So everything that we're going to do on Shabbos is going to really impact the environment, which will then impact and affect us. So let's start with the first thing we do. We light Shabbos candles on Friday night. Now, the Gemara gives different reasons as to why we light Shabbos candles. One of the reasons is that before there was electricity, it would be dark. And the Gemara says that when you light Shabbos candles, it brings light and people won't stumble over each other, and it brings peacefulness into the environment. But even more and even deeper is that candles have this ability to create a certain depth to them, a certain romance to them. It affects the whole mood. And why is that? What is it? So I was actually going to show you, but basically fire, it's really fascinating. Fire represents the soul, because if you look at fire, it's always rising upwards. Fire, you could take a candle and turn it down, and the fire doesn't go down. It keeps going up. Most things, if you put down, fall down. But when you take fire, even if you put it upside down, the flame still keeps going upwards, because there's something to fire that symbolizes our soul, this desire to constantly be going upwards, to be growing, to be getting better. And when not only is fire rising up, but anytime light, this concept of light, anytime we put light into this world, if it's dark in a room and you turn on the light, it allows me to see the room more clearly. I see where I'm going. I see what I'm doing. And that's really what Shabbos is all about. It's supposed to be the day of clarity, the day when I can see more, the day where I can see what's really important in life. What am I really doing in this world? The day I can see, okay, I'm not the creator. I can let go a little bit. Not everything is in my control. I have to let go. And that's what the Shabbos candles represent. And lighting candles with children really makes a big impact. I'll never forget when I first got married, my husband and I spent a holiday by his very good friend's house. And their very good friends had this uncle who was like this tough, they had like a funny name for him. I forgot what it was, but he was like this tough older man. And everybody went to shul Friday night, but it wasn't his thing. So he was sitting on the couch with me and we were talking. And then this tough, big man starts crying and he looks at the candles and he starts getting super emotional and telling me, I will never forget watching my mother light the candles Friday night. I miss her so much. And he's like 70 years old and he's hysterically bawling to me about his mother. I'm like looking around, does anybody else see this conversation? This man is very emotional right now, but it shows you the real impact that lighting Shabbat candles really has on the family. And so a lot of times mothers will do it with their daughters, or their children will be nearby and they might give them a blessing while they light the Shabbat candles, because that's really this concept. Just another thing that really stuck in my head is that there's a famous convert. Her name is Rachel Factor. And who is Rachel Factor? She was actually a dancer. She was from the Philippines and she started dating this Jewish guy. And while they were dating, he said, my parents really care that I should be married to a Jewish woman. So he said, I think we're going to have to go through conversion. So she said, okay, no problem. And she starts, learning about Judaism. She wasn't super serious about it, but as she started learning more about it, she was really inspired by it. So she said to her husband, okay, we're going to try to do Shabbat a little bit. And she describes in her when she describes it, that she put the whole Friday night table together so beautifully, and she lit and she put on the tablecloth and she lit the Shabbos candles, and she's waiting for her husband to come back from work, and she's waiting and she's waiting and she's waiting, and when he came back in, she was so furious with him. She's like standing there and he's like, she said, where were you? It's Shabbos and I've been waiting for you. And he said, okay, you're not even Jewish. We're just learning about it now. Like, why are you taking this so seriously? And she said she realized in that moment that there was so much more that she cared about this so much more than just that she was getting married to this man. And eventually she ended up converting, and her husband and her, they live in Israel together, and they built a whole life together. But it's this idea that these Shabbat candles, this environment, it's really something beautiful that really impacts you. So then on Shabbos, we set a beautiful table with a nice setting. And, it's not just Ezekiel, it says in Ezekiel that it's not just a table, but a table becomes a place before God. So it's this idea that on Shabbos we eat and dine, but it's not just a physical, or we're sitting around and just eating, but it's also to enjoy this special time with our loved ones, and just this idea of uninterrupted connecting on a much deeper level, and just being able to, really, experience this together. Now, after that, we make Kiddush. And a lot of people, we kind of breeze through Kiddush. And if you don't know Hebrew especially, it's hard to even really, understand what it is. But really, when you read the Kiddush in English, the whole Kiddush is basically saying how God created the world in 6 days, and then he rested on the 7th day. And this concept of letting go, it's that 7th day. And then God says, I'm the God who took you out of Egypt. Why are we suddenly mentioning Egypt here? Because to realize that this is the God that is in control of everything. And before we're about to sit down to this beautiful meal, we have to refocus ourselves. And I always just thought Kiddush, I never knew that Kiddush could be something so deep, which is just, it's basically a refocusing. It's almost like a mantra before you're about to go somewhere, and you try to just refocus yourself and remember what you're doing. That's what Kiddush is. Before we sit down to this beautiful meal, let's remember the purpose of this day and why we're here, what we're doing. And it's really fun to get kids involved in Kiddush because, the grape juice, and it's a big deal. You can get little Kiddush cups for each kid. My sons have Kiddush cups with their names on it, so they feel special. It's funny because my husband holds the cup like this, and I noticed my 3-year-old has, when he makes Kiddush, he's been holding the cup like this, and he's imitating, like we said in the beginning, that kids see everything we do. He's been holding the cup just like my husband in this way, and he shuckles a little bit back and forth while my husband says Kiddush, because it's something fun. It's something that you can get the whole family into, and it's really can make the day very special. So then we eat challah. So why do we eat challah? What's behind the challah? So yeah, bread gives a certain importance to a meal. So we definitely have bread so that we can have this extra chashivas, this extra importance to the meal. But we also have bread. Customarily, we have 2 loaves of bread at each meal. And the reason is it's supposed to represent the manna that fell in the desert. What was that? In the desert, the Jewish people didn't have to get their own food. God every night would, every early morning would send down food for them, and they'd wake up and it'd be on their doorstep. And it was layers. There would be the dew that falls down in the morning, then the mun, and then covered by another layer of the dew. So that way it was always kept fresh between these 2 layers of the dew. In the middle was the mun. And that's why we're supposed to stack. If you notice, when you go to people's houses, they put the challahs on top of each other. It's supposed to represent this layering of the dew. And that's why you have a challah board underneath. It's like the dew, the challah, and then the dew on top. So it's this idea, challah is this idea exactly what Shabbos is. Because why? On Friday, they would get a double portion of man, and they wouldn't get any man on Shabbos. So basically, it was this idea that you had to trust, this was their food. Without this, they wouldn't have food. But they didn't have it on Shabbos. So when they would get that double portion on Friday, they would have to trust and recognize that it's going to be okay, because there's enough here that's going to sustain me for Shabbos, and it's going to come on Friday, and I don't have to be worried. So this idea of challah very much represents this idea of faith, this idea of belief that I can let go. The man is not coming down on Shabbos, and I'm going to be okay because God is going to sustain me. So that is this whole concept of challah, is this idea of faith, which is the whole concept of Shabbos. And of course, you can get the kids involved in the challah by making the sugar challahs. This week is Parshas Noach, so a lot of people do like a tie-dyed challah, or they'll put sprinkles on it to represent the rainbow that Noach saw at the end of the Mabul. So you could do rainbow challah, sprinkle challah, sugar challah. There's so many fun things you can do to get the family involved. And then we eat and we dine, and we have this combination of just physical and spiritual, and we're really bringing a certain harmony, because at the end of the day, we're spiritual people and we're physical people, and it sometimes feels like there's a compromise between one or the other. I'm either going to be spiritual right now, or I just need to be physical, but it's not. On Shabbos, there's really this harmony that we're connecting to all these mitzvos at the Shabbos table, but we're also enjoying it through our bodies and through all the physicality, which is really the whole essence of who we are. So, it's always nice on Shabbos when you're enjoying things to save certain special treats for Shabbos. So I know, for example, with my kids, they don't drink soda during the week, and it's like a special Shabbos drink. So I was really proud this week, because my son brought home a bag of treats. He had a birthday party in school, and inside the bag of treats was a soda can. And Moshe looked at me, and I'm not sure if he did this because he knows he can't have soda during the week, or because he just knows soda's special for Shabbos. But he said, "Mommy, I'm not drinking from my soda can. I'm saving it for Shabbos." And he was really excited. He's like, "It's going to be my Shabbos drink." So I was really happy to see that he has incorporated that idea, that there's special things that we get excited for on Shabbos. I was thinking like, yeah, he got it. He got that message. So, and the things that there's so many ways that we can make Shabbos special for our family and our loved ones and our kids, and it really gets absorbed. I remember growing up, every Friday when I would wake up for school, there was a smell in my house, and I asked my mom about it. It smelled amazing every Friday morning. My mother said it was the chicken that she made, and she must have made it either, my mom's actually on here, so she could tell us, but she either made it late Thursday night or early Friday morning. But there was this excitement. I would wake up on Friday. I knew it was Shabbos coming. I knew we had school and we were coming home, and it was Shabbos. And my father had this tradition that every Friday before he went to work, he stopped at the bakery, and he either got us these like giant circle sprinkle cookies, or these black and white cookies. We knew every Shabbos, we knew every Friday when we would come down that the bags from the bakery were already there and ready for Shabbos. And when we do these things, when we make things in our home special for Shabbos, it really sticks with children. It really is something that sticks with the family members. It's something that you remember long, and I speak to my siblings, we all remember those bakery cookies, and I always remember that smell on Friday morning. I even remind my father about it sometimes now. There's my dad. I even remind him sometimes now. I said, "Do you remember you used to get those big cookies that were, sometimes they were smiley faces, yellow with the smiley faces. Sometimes it was the big sprinkle ones or the black and white cookies, but this really sticks for a child." And I hope that I'm able to do that too when my son says he's saving his soda can for Shabbos, that there's this understanding that there's something special for Shabbos. So really everything that we do for Shabbos is to really hone in the same idea that it is a day to let go from the world and to just connect to each other, to connect to God, to realize I'm not in control, and all week I'm running, and now I just need to stop, and I need to connect, and I need to realize that I am not in control, no matter how much I think I am.